That's good chicken.
Thanks.
That cook just prepared a tray of excellent Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was golden brown, just the way our customers like it. Our customers expect to get this kind of chicken every time they visit a Kentucky Fried Chicken store. You've seen the care we take to warm up the raw chicken properly and to coat the chicken with the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices. We take the same amount of pride and care when cooking Kentucky Fried Chicken. By following every step of the cooking procedure, exactly the way I'm about to show you, you will learn to cook excellent chicken every time. I'm going to be using this cooker. It's been warmed up according to procedure. First, I will be loading the chicken into the cooker, then I'm going to brown the chicken. After the chicken is browned to the correct color, I will close the lid and set the timer to pressure cook the chicken for 8 minutes. After the chicken is cooked, I will vent the machine, open the lid, and remove the cooked chicken onto a tray. Then I'll spread the pieces of chicken on the tray. Now, I will be showing you the utensils we will be using during the cooking process and where they are located for efficiency. This is the hook. Over here is the scraper. Here are the cloths we'll be working with. And these are the tongs. Now this is the tumbler. It sits in the middle of the basket, and after the chicken has been loaded and browned, the tumbler is then removed to separate the pieces that may have been stuck together. Now over here is an example of 2 pieces of chicken that have remained stuck together during the cooking process. Proper removal of the tumbler would have separated these pieces. Because these pieces were not separated, this is the result. White spots. As you can see, the appearance of this cooked chicken is unacceptable. We cannot sell this chicken to our customers. Now let's start the cooking process. First, I put the tumbler in place by lowering it into the middle of the basket so that it stands straight up. Next, I will set the timer to the start to heat up the shortening. When the proper cooking temperature of 375 degrees has been reached, the heat light will go out. Now when the heat light goes out, we want to have our breaded chicken ready to load. So I'm going to start breading the chicken now. Now when you place your tray of breaded chicken on the cooker table, make sure there are no other trays under it. This will prevent any of the flour from the breaded chicken contaminating the tray that is going to receive the cooked chicken. The heat light has just gone out, which means the shortening temperature is at 375 degrees. There's a very important point to keep in mind here. Never load chicken into the cooker until the heat light has gone out. Before I load the chicken into the cooker, I will once again reset the timer to the start. This is to prevent the machine shutting off during browning. Let's begin to load our chicken. I'll be shaking the excess flour from each piece before I load it into the cooker. We always load the legs first. I pick up 4 legs in each hand by the bone end firmly with my fingertips. I then lower the legs a ½ inch into the hot shortening and hold them there for 10 seconds. This is called searing. The reason we sear the legs is to prevent the meat from drying out and to give the legs a better finished appearance. I then spin the legs as I release them. Now let's load the remaining pieces. I pick up 2 pieces at a time, 1 in each hand, and shake off the excess flour. Notice how close the pieces are to the surface of the shortening before I release them. This is to reduce splashing. You'll also notice I load the basket working from the back of the cooker towards the front. This is to spread the pieces out in the basket. It's important to spread the pieces in the basket so that each piece of chicken comes in contact with the hot shortening. This will allow each piece of chicken to brown properly while it's cooking. Now that the chicken is browning in the cooker, I'm going to return the tray to the breading table and wash my hands. Before I can close the lid, the chicken has to be browned to the correct color. To help us do this, we use this color guide so that our finished product looks like this. It's been approximately 1.5 minutes. I'm going to check the chicken to see how close it is to the correct color. I do this by lifting the basket out of the hot shortening with the hook, just enough to expose the top pieces of chicken. I can see that it has not yet been browned to the correct color. This chicken will require more time to brown properly. Visual inspection is important because we cannot time the browning process. The browning time will vary due to the condition of the shortening, the accuracy of the cooking temperature, and the weight of the breaded chicken. Remember, the only way to know for sure if browning has been completed is to visually inspect the chicken. So when you're learning how to cook chicken, use the color guide and check the chicken closely to avoid over browning. Let's take another look at the chicken. This chicken is now browned to the correct color, so the browning process is now complete. The next 5 steps have to be performed quickly. First, I remove the tumbler. Using a cloth, place both hands on top of the tumbler and give a hard, straight, upward tug, and then pull the tumbler straight up to completely tumble the chicken. It's important not to push down on the tumbler, as the prongs will tear the skin and damage the pieces in the basket. Using the hook, I then shake the basket to redistribute the pieces to avoid white spots. Make sure that all the pieces are below the oil. Now I can close the lid. The cooking time is 8 minutes, so I immediately set the timer to the 8-minute mark. This chicken is now being pressure cooked for 8 minutes. When the cooking cycle is completed, the machine will automatically vent to release the pressure. I'm going to place the cooked chicken on this tray. You can hear this machine is automatically venting. The heat light has just come back on to indicate that the shortening is being reheated for the next round of cooking. Over here on the timer, we can see the vent line. Now when the vent line is straight up, I will be ready to manually assist venting the cooker. I will do this by gradually depressing the lid lock and holding it down until the timer reaches a star and most of the pressure is released. I will then be able to safely open the lid. Now that the vent line is straight up, I can now release the remaining pressure until the timer reaches a star. Now I can safely open the lid. Quickly return the lid to the upright position and remove the chicken from the shortening. Let the basket drain on the liner for 5 seconds. To empty the basket, use a cloth to hold the handle and put the hook in the bottom of the basket. Then empty the chicken out onto the tray. Then place the basket back into the cooker. Now during the cooking process, moisture collects on the lid. Wipe this moisture so that it does not go back into the shortening. Water breaks down shortening. Now I'll use a scraper to remove the crust ring from inside the liner. It's important to remove this crust ring so that it does not burn in the shortening. Since I'm not going to cook again, I'm going to turn my machine off. This will avoid reheating the cooker unnecessarily. The next step is to spread these pieces out. This is called racking. There are some important points to keep in mind when racking the chicken on the tray. When handling the pieces with the tongs, be careful not to damage the skin. In order to allow each piece to drain properly, place the pieces bone side down. When racking the legs, tilt the bone end of the leg on another piece. This is so the leg drains properly. With the wings, rack the wing with the wing tip up. Let's compare it to our color guide. Our cooked chicken is the same color as the finished product on the color guide. Now the chicken can be taken to the warming cabinet where it will be stored. Thanks. Well, that's how you cook Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now let's take a moment to review the critical standards for the cooking procedure. Load the chicken after the heat light goes out at the proper cooking temperature of 375 degrees. Make sure there are no other trays on the cooking table when loading breaded chicken. Sear the skin on the legs for 10 seconds. Load the chicken one piece in each hand. Distribute the pieces evenly in the basket. Brown the chicken to the color indicated on the color guide. Pull straight up to remove the tumbler. Do not push down. The cooking time for Kentucky Fried Chicken is 8 minutes. Remove the chicken quickly from the shortening. Wipe moisture from the lid. The cooked chicken must be the same color indicated on the guide. In addition to these critical standards, I always keep the following safety points in mind when cooking chicken. Hold the pieces close to the surface of the shortening before releasing them to reduce splashing. Ensure the lid is properly closed and locked in place. Ensure excess pressure is released before opening the lid. Maintain the proper level of shortening in the cooker to avoid possible fires. Use a dry cloth when handling the lid, the tumbler, and the cooker basket. You know, as a cook, you have one of the most important jobs in a Kentucky Fried Chicken store. Our business depends on the quality of chicken you produce. By following the procedure exactly as I have demonstrated it for you in this tape, you will produce excellent Kentucky Fried Chicken every time. Now go ask your manager to demonstrate this procedure for you, and then you'll have an opportunity to practice it.